That's another theme from 2021 is it's not just a matter of how intense the event is, it's also a matter of when in the calendar year it occurs. And the aseasonality of a lot of things that were going on this year is particularly striking. So, most of the West was experiencing an extreme snow drought with essentially no snow on the ground through early December. That changed incredibly fast and dramatically in December across most of the West, with an enormous swing towards well above average snowpack levels almost everywhere and extreme cold. So that was quite a swing. But up until that point, we were seeing wildfires at 9,000 feet elevation in the conifers in Colorado in December, which was extraordinary. Then we had two of these really big cold season severe convective weather outbreaks, the devastating tornado outbreak in the southeastern US earlier, I believe it was in early December, and then this other one much farther to the north, an even rarer one, as you mentioned, up into the upper Midwest, with additional spring-like storms well into December. And I think what we've realized is, and then I guess I should probably add, at the end of December, then we had the most destructive wildfire in Colorado history the day before New Year's Eve. And all of these things were perhaps some things that could have happened, or would have been more likely to happen at a different time of year. But because they happened at an unusual time of year, they had even greater impacts because the background conditions were different. In Colorado, for example, extreme wind events are pretty common in winter along the Front Range, but usually they occur after a few feet of snow have already fallen and conditions are much less dry. And you don't have a balmy California-like autumn of record warmth preceding it. The extreme storms, the convective weather, and the tornado outbreak in the southeastern US, usually, down south, it's the shear, the wind shear that's a limiting factor. There isn't enough shear when you have severe thunderstorms to produce violent tornadoes. That shear occurs most often in the winter, and the limiting factor in winter is usually it just isn't warm and moist enough to produce the storms in the first place, but there's plenty of shear if if the storms materialize. And then we're realizing that by shifting severe convective weather into the cold season, there's ample wind shear. So when you do get the storms, you have a whole different set of conditions that's not the same as if you just added extra moisture and humidity in the summer. There is something specific about adding these extra combinations of ingredients at this particular time of year. And I think that's the other theme of 2021 is this idea that seasonality matters. And by creating novel combinations of seasonal occurrence of different kinds of extremes, we can actually amplify those extremes by an even wider margin than you might otherwise expect if it was just additive, both in terms of the physical hazards themselves and then the impacts that they produce.